Hi, I am Bitsie Tulloch, and you're watching Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
You're watching Generally Nerdy one more time. I'm sitting down with Bitsie Tulloch.
Yes,
Sweet.
it's Scottish.
I probably should have guessed that. A little bit of that heritage runs through my blood as well. How are you today, first of all?
Doing great. I've never been to Denver before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How are
It's
you liking
part
your
of the
stay?
fun in going to these conventions. Like
Right.
David and I are going to one in Germany
Wow.
in August, and we're going to Brisbane in September. Is getting to go to places you've never been before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How was your stay in Denver then, since it's your first?
Well, I gotta say, I am really thirsty all the time, and my skin's dry.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. I saw you walked in on a crutch.
I did. I just had like a little minor hip thing. I
enough.
have a tendency to be an overachiever, and like a year and a half ago, I was doing some training for Grimm for Eve, and they wanted me looking a lot more muscular, and I was like strength training, and I ended up tearing the cartilage in my hip. And because the recovery is like 6 weeks, I really couldn't do it while I was shooting Grimm, so I had to wait and do surgery
Wow.
after Grimm was over.
That's
So
quite the recovery.
yeah.
And Grimm is done now.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment. First, you recently, not recently, last season, you were in an episode of Portlandia.
Oh yeah, Fred's a friend of mine, and so
Yes.
he's like, "Well, you do it," and it's so frustrating too because Fred Armisen was saying he really wanted to do Grimm, and I can't tell you how many times I emailed the producers and I was like, "Come on, guys, he wants to do Grimm. We have
Right.
to do this."
Hey, get him for free.
Because Silas had done an episode of Portlandia, and so did I, and I was like, Fred really wants to do it, but I think they thought it would be too much of like stunt casting to
Right.
have Fred Armisen on the show, so it never happened. But yeah, I did a really fun episode of Portlandia.
So I take it then, since you're friends with Fred Armisen, that you are a fan of the show.
Yeah.
Is there a character type that they parody on that show that you identify with at all?
I don't know about identify with, but I love the sort of feminist bookstore characters. That's probably my favorite. And I know like Carrie was my skit for Portlandia was with Carrie
Right.
Brownstein, and she was dying the whole time because she had this like crazy mullet and
can-
this ridiculous costume. So she was just like cracking up the
I
whole
could
time.
only imagine
Yeah.
how that set must have
Yeah.
been. So I don't know if many people know this, but you had spent some time on Lonely Girl 15 back in the day as well.
Way back in the day, yeah. A friend of mine was like running it, and he's like, "Will you do it?" And that was in between. I had already done Quarter Life, which started as a web series and then went to NBC.
Right.
And I was like, well, yeah, I already just did this like web series, so I might as well do another one. And they just cast me in it, and I don't remember like those episodes were really short, but
Very
I did.
short, yes.
I did a bunch of them.
Did you have any sort of sense that this was something that was drastically different?
Lonely Girl?
Yeah.
No.
Because people didn't know what to make of it. They thought it was...
No, but by the time I started
That's
doing
true.
it,
It
the
was
reveal,
out.
yeah, it was already out, and it was out that it was a fiction.
Right.
So, yeah.
Can you make any sort of comparison between working on something like Lonely Girl to what you've done on more traditional television? Like
Well,
Grimm?
yeah, the budget. Like we had like no budget. I mean, we shot a couple episodes of Lonely Girl in Mexico or something, and we were like everyone was staying in the same house together, and you just
Right.
like do a Costco run, and there's just no budget. I mean, sometimes it feels like that on indie films too. There's just like no budget for stuff, and Grimm is this enormous budget, and you know they'll go out and get you whatever kind of food you want. So I would say the biggest difference is
It's
the
the
budget.
money.
And also like on Grimm you're shooting a 1 hour episode,
Right,
and on
so
Lonely
there's
Girl it was a little
like a 5-minute thing.
yeah, you're kind of just wigging it. Winging
on
it, rather,
Grimm,
not wigging it.
Yeah. On Grimm, you are two different people.
Yeah.
Not
them
at the
wears
same,
wigs.
Right.
Yeah.
Not touche. Not at the same time necessarily, but do you identify with one or the other more? Was one harder to play than the other?
Eve was a lot harder to play just because she was so sort of cold and calculating and still,
Right.
and I talk with my hands a lot and I'm really expressive. So Juliet was probably easier for me to play as an actress. But I also, you know, in the beginning she was sort of passive, and I don't really relate to that. I'm not a passive person. And I really responded to how strong Eve was, so that I was really into. And I honestly just feel really lucky because I got to play like the sweet Juliet, then the evil Juliet, and then I got to play Eve. And like, who gets to be on a TV show for 6 years and gets, like, as an actor, what you don't necessarily want to get stuck playing the same thing for that long, because it gets a little easy, and you kind of want to break out of your comfort zone. And when they wrote Eve for me, that was definitely like breaking out of my comfort zone a little.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sitting down with us today, and congratulations on the season finale.
Generally nerdy.